Alright, so I'm gonna explain Kumi's story here because, as you know, sadly, ChocoRomance is going to be ending, and so I'm going to take each character and basically explain their side stories or their stories that were supposed to happen in the comic, but obviously I didn't get around to it, and so here we go. First up, we are going to take his whole family. I'm going to draw them here. Here's his whole family. He actually has 3 brothers. They already knew that he was gay from like a very young age. When he was like 12 years old, he was gay. He was like 10 and he was like, yep, I want a man. And he told his parents about this because their family, they were like pretty close, you know. They were like a really happy family. And they were just like one of those close families where you could like tell them, you could tell your whole family anything. He had, oh, I cut off kind of there. I need to see their ages over here. He had 3 brothers. He had an older brother who was 26 years old, as you can see. A second older brother, which he's 23. Yeah, oh my god, where is it? Right now. And then he had the last older brother who's 18. They're actually pretty close in age, but that's because she got accidentally pregnant a little too early. And then she had Kumi. They were actually hoping for a girl, but they didn't get one, and they were going to name her Kumiko, but they decided to name him Kumi, so he kind of has a girly name. His 3 brothers' name is Shiko, Shima, and Shita. So I'm going to write that down. Shiko... Oh no, not Shiko. Sorry, did I say Shiko? Okay. Psycho, Shima, and Shita. And honestly, they were like really close brothers, you know. They were like, as I said before, they were like all family and they loved each other very much. But the minute that Kumi said he was gay was the thing that broke it all. It was like everybody's eyes had just turned. Instead of loving, it was just kind of like shocked, betrayed, and they were like, what the fuck? You're gay? That's not right. That's not what you should be. And honestly, the youngest brother, which is Shita, I will refer to them by their names now, and you can kind of look at the sheet to know who they are. Shita was the one who was the most pissed off by this. He was like, what? I have a gay brother? You're basically an embarrassment. You should die. And he was the meanest out of all of them. He would always like bully Kai, like, you should be ashamed that you're this way, and yeah, he would. I don't know if I wanted it to be that way because a lot of these are kind of gray areas because I haven't really finalized it yet because I never got to this part. But I don't know if I want him to like abuse Kumi, not abuse, but like beat him up sometimes, you know, the brother beat up and punch him and everything. But he was very hostile towards him in words, definitely. Like calling him, like, I don't really usually like saying these words, but this is his words that I would say, but he would be like, you know, like, you're a homo, you're an embarrassment, I don't even know why you were born, you should have never been born, you should have been a girl, you know, things like that. And the mom is like pretty not supportive, but she has more of the attitude of like, oh my god, Kumi, we're gonna fix you, you need Jesus, the basic American mom, but she's more Japanese. I was just explaining like an example of it where she would be like, oh my god, Kumi, don't you worry, we're gonna fix you, you don't really like men, okay, something's just wrong with your brain or something like that. She was the optimist in the family. The father basically disowned him. He was like, fuck all that, bye. You know, at least the mom was still like I want the child, don't throw it away. Don't throw the child away. Yeah, that's the only redeeming quality of Kumi's mother, is that she still loves him, but she's kind of trying to fix him, even though it's not a thing that you can fix for to say. Let's see, she was actually very sweet. There was going to be some scenes. I might actually put this in the comic. Hello, Dying of Parvati. Welcome to the stream. It's going to be a little bit, sad today because I'm ending my comic of ChocoRomance. I'm actually doing a little bit of recording right now, so don't mind me. You're being recorded. And I'm basically explaining Kumi's story right now. But anyways, the mom, she was always really loving towards him. Oh yeah, and I was gonna make a little comic about it where you could see how she was very loving towards Kumi, but you could also see that she wasn't understanding, like, hey, he's gay, he's G-A-Y, he's got the rainbow colors, you can't change nothing about that. And yeah. But even though she didn't understand that, you could tell that the mother meant well, and you're like, oh, she's a good mom, but come on, accept the boy for who he is. Like in one of the scenes where, actually I have the little comic right here, but I just haven't put it out yet. I might put it out as like a little side story Kumi kind of thing, because I've always had this drawing here. You came back to the sad, you know, you came back at the right moments. Oh wow, is this how I used to draw? I drew this a very long time ago. But in the comic, Kumi, when he was younger, he was like 10, everybody knew he was gay. And they basically beat him up for it. They were like, gay kid on the block, let's beat him up, get out the bats, get out the guns, shoot him up. And they would be like, what would they say? Homo man? Oh yeah, they'd be like, look, the homo's crying. And Kumi would always be like, don't call me a homo. Kumi was still Kumi, you know, he was just gay and everything. But what was interesting that I put into that comic, I mean, I should wait until you guys see it, but the child that was bullying Kumi got the word homo from his mother, so it was supposed to be another thing where, like, you know, lesson learned, like, children learn from their parents, and that child had learned from the parents and that being gay as well. But anyways, back to the conversation at hand. When the mom came into the principal's office, you know, she had the authority down. She was like, who beat up my child? Okay, it was his fault. I don't know what he's doing. And she even brought up the authority of her husband and the company that she owned. She was like, we can make you disappear, so watch out. That was her attitude. Like, you could tell she had a bite that could bite. Like, she was not all bark, she was bite. Like, don't even test her. If you hurt her baby, she's gonna come after you with fangs. Oh, she looks just so funny. Now, I didn't really talk much about the father, and I guess I could talk about him now. He's really that old school father, or that old school kind of like Japanese man. I can't really explain him other than that, as well as whenever I explain any of these characters, I haven't really got much into depth with them, some more than others maybe, but that's basically it. Anyways, for his kind of story, he ignored Kumi. He basically acted like, he does not exist. Goodbye. And I'm laughing. He's in pain, but I'm laughing at Kumi's pain. And it was just really kind of sad because he treated him as his little boy. He was like, look at my strong little man. And, you know, he'd always give him attention and love, but once he found out about that, he just stopped, you know. At the same time, he's the kind of person that if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And that's also the reason why he didn't talk to his son, because if he talked to Kumi, he would have been like, why are you like this? Why did you become this? And he knew that it would hurt his son, and he didn't know how to deal with the situation. Like, nobody in his family has ever been gay, so he did not know how to handle the situation, and he just basically ignored his son. Neglectment, the easiest way. I don't know how to understand my child father. Yeah, I don't know how to understand my child father, basically. And not only that, but he would never accept that his child would be gay as well. Unfortunately, he just has those old school views like, hey, you gotta be with the lady. Let me just finish off his head and then we can get on to the brothers. And it's just so sad because they were just such a loving family, and because of this one thing. His father's name is Takeo, Takeo. And the mother, I guess I never gave her a name. Okay, you guys can give her a name. Yeah, I guess I never gave her a name. Actually, this girl right here was supposed to be his sister, but I actually exited her out. She doesn't exist anymore. His mother was supposed to get pregnant again and give birth to a girl, but I kind of like scratched that idea because I mean, doesn't she look cute? She's got her father's eyes. There's like half of her face. I didn't take a picture of her because she didn't really matter, because she doesn't really exist anymore, you know? A lot of these characters that I draw, there are reasons why I drew them. Like, she was actually supposed to be the mediator of the family, and she was supposed to be like, why don't you love my brother, and kind of thing. And she was supposed to be the child with like the innocent eyes, and they would kind of like come to realize, like, you know what, maybe we should accept Kumi for who he is. Or it would just be like the determinant of like, you know what, we're never gonna recognize Kumi. And anyways, back to Shita, as I branched off with the others. He's actually in the same high school as Kumi. You guys just haven't seen him yet. And it's not like I didn't want to introduce him, but it's more like he does not want to interact with his brother at all. If people ask him, he'd be like, fuck off, that is not my brother. Sorry for the language, but that's how hostile he is. And it's just like, so heart-wrenching for me, because as I cannot express enough, all of these brothers, they loved Kumi very much, but when he turned out to be gay, they were all like, he ain't my bro. And you would think that love conquers all, but not in this moment. Let me just finish off his head here, and then I can get to the other brothers. There's not really much about them, because I haven't really, as I had said before, I haven't really dove into them much. Let's give him a neck here. Next, we have Shima, the lady killer. I find him very interesting because, as you can tell, Psycho is the oldest, you know. He's got his dad's business down, you know. He's the type that's like, kind of like the study mode, or how do I explain this? Basically, he's very, you know, straightforward. I'm gonna do this business, I know how to do everything, kind of thing. And that's Psycho right there. Like, I'm gonna skip the middle brother for now because I really have to think about his story in my head. But you know, he's very the serious type, and you know, when he heard that Kumi was gay, he was just in his own dilemma to even care about Kumi. He loved Kumi and everything, but once he found out he was gay, he was like, you know what, I couldn't care less. I'm gonna go to my room and study. And that, his attitude is more like, I could care less if you were gay. R.I.P. middle child. Well, it's because, like, as I said before, I haven't written much about him as well as these other characters. But anyways, as the oldest, and most kids, as the oldest child in Japan, you know, they project, like, they have to do everything right, they gotta do this, they gotta study, they gotta be the child that, you know, is basically the star, you know? To show the younger siblings what they should and should not do and stuff like that. And he... See, I don't know how to explain him. Just because, like, maybe not everyone in Japan, but, like, most people in Japan would be like, huh? Gay? But for, at least for Psycho's attitude, he was more like, you know what? I don't really care if you're gay as long as you don't bother me. Somebody is peeking through the door and it's getting kind of creepy. One of my family members is creeping through my... Oh my god, that is handsome. That's better. That's better attitude than his other brother. That's very true. And you can tell that he's much more mature than his other brothers. And the only reason I stress, like, mature is because sorry, it's just like they keep, it distracts me because, like, they keep opening the door, like, just a little bit, like, very creepily, and I'm like, shut the door. It's really creepy. Okay, anyways, the only reason I stress it's like he's mature, it's because, like, his attitude wasn't really mature. It was more like, I don't have time to deal with this. I'm gone. I'm done. And he kind of has the attitude of his father, kind of ignoring Kumi. Pa, les voy a enseñar. It was my dad. I thought it was my mom, but it was my dad. He was like half naked. I was like, I'm gonna show them. I'm gonna turn the camera, kind of like, I'm gonna turn the car around. But yeah, he had more of the attitude of his father, where he just kind of ignored things. He ignored his brother, and he's like, I'm not gonna deal with this. Fuck all this. Goodbye. I'm sorry, I'm using so many bad languages, but it's just because this, it's just like how sour I feel with this story, with his side of the story. And right now, what he's really mostly worried about is the company and how he's gonna run it and everything, and that's all he's worried about. He could care less about what Kumi's doing, and that's why he could care less about what Shima is doing, because I guess I'm gonna make him kind of the womanizer or the jokester. Like, he's the middle child, he doesn't really have to worry about things. Yeah. I can tell that's basically his attitude because of his smile that I gave him. Now, the middle brother, he does not associate himself with Kumi. He's pretty hostile as well, not physically or verbally. Well, maybe verbally a little bit. He's just kind of like ignores Kumi as well. You know, if Kumi ever tries to get close to him, he's like, whoa, 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 5 steps back, bro. And it's kind of funny because he used to be the shameful one of the family. I would kind of guess, but it was overshadowed because Kumi was gay. But he was more of the womanizer kind of guy, or he slept with a lot of women. And because he did this because of his older brother right over here, all his fault over here, because he felt inferior to him, and because of this inferiority, he was like, you know what, F all that, I'm gonna do what I want. And the weird thing about Shima is, like, he's just as smart as his brother, but he's just not, like, very accomplished as he is. And once he found out about Kumi, you know, being... Actually, how old was he when he found out? Because he was 23, he's 18, Kumi is 17, he... How much older is he? 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, no, 23. 6 years older. So he would have been 16, so yeah, he was definitely a womanizer at 16. At the age of 16, haha. And once he found out about this, he was like, ha! Nobody's gonna care about me anymore. This is gonna be the topic forever. And yeah, that was kind of his attitude towards it. He was kind of like, thanks, Kumi. Thank you, Kumi. But he was also kind of like, yeah, bro, you shouldn't be doing that. Yeah. I gotta say, the only person who's really the better one of the relationship would be his mom, because he kind of like mocks him. He mocks him a lot. I mean, at least he gets an interaction from this brother. See, like at the he's more of the like poker, I would say. You know, like he pokes the bear. So a lot of times to Kumi, he'll be like, "So how many guys have you slept with, huh?" And then Kumi will retort back like, "How many women have you slept with?" And yeah. He's actually a little bit more blunt, and his answer would have been like, you know what, I think at least 27, but yeah. He's a little creeper over here. He also works at his dad's company because what else is he gonna do? The reason why I put him there was because, as I said before, I didn't dwell too much into his story. So that's it for this guy. He just works at the dad's company as well. He also slacks off a lot because working at his dad's company was not his passion. It wasn't his dream. He was just kind of like, well, here's the road. So he's a semi jerk basically. That's this guy over here. Now that we have all the three brothers, let's see, I guess I'll go into Kumi and how Kumi felt all of this, because now you know how all the family members felt about him and his situation. Why did I only give him eyebrows? Oh my god, he's so handsome. Why didn't I put him in the story? Okay. Where's Kumi? Now Kumi's over here. Little baby boy. Little baby boy Kumi. Let's bring you up over here. And now Kumi, from very, as I said before, from a very early stage in his life, he kind of knew he had the hots for the other side of the team. And he told his parents, as I said, oh, my son. Pepper boy over here. My friend's a little cute thing, if you want to call him that. She called him a pepper boy because he looked like a pepper because of his little thing here, and he had red hair. And now Kumi, he was frustrated because he sometimes had doubts in himself, like, should I really even be this anymore? Should I even be what I am anymore? And I would say he dated girls, or he tried to date girls, because, you know, kind of at the start of it, since the start of the relationship, he had so much trust in his parents and so much love towards his parents that he was like, well, you know what, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should go for girls instead. But it ended not good. Every time he was with a girl, he'd be like, oh, gross. Oh, that's gross. And yeah, so he just like kept telling his parents, like, you know what, being with a girl is gross, this is who I am, this is what I'm gonna be. And it was just kind of like, it was really hard for Kumi just being in his house because nobody could understand him. And his brothers, he hated his brothers, man. He hated 1, 2, and 3 because they didn't understand, and they didn't try to understand his father. He basically felt abandoned. He felt so sad. He's got issues upon issues. He's one of those kids that laugh off their pain, like, yeah, my dad ignores me, but it's okay. He's, as long as he doesn't leave me. He would be that kind of jokester, but he doesn't really talk about his family. Yeah. Oh, he looks so sad. Towards his dad, he just feels bad because he was like, that's my dad, but I guess he doesn't love me anymore. His mom, he's kind of like, well, my mom loves me. She definitely loves me, but she doesn't understand my mom doesn't understand who I am. But he could tell that his mom was trying, like, in her own way. She was trying to help her son. Because she was like, you know what, we're gonna make you not gay, which was not the right mindset, but she was just, she was trying to help him because she loved him, and she was like, you know what, you're still my baby boy, you came out of my body, and we're gonna help you. And she was always loving, always attentive, and even, it was a little bit of a hard topic, but even when Kumi started dating guys, she could talk about it with her mom, and then her mom would kind of be like, but she would also give advice. She would be like, oh no, don't you let him treat you that way. It was a weird relationship. Kumi, he actually, I could actually give you a little side story. He met Itsuki over here. You can't see him, the side of his face. I should probably take a picture of him. Actually, let's take a moment of pause. At first, Kumi was going to an all-boys school, but as it turns out, they switched him to public school. I wonder why. So they switched him to public school, and I'm talking about, this is like a public school. The reason I stress this was because he used to go to like a prestigious all-boys school. That's where all of his brothers went. Until they found out he was gay, and they were like, you know what, we need to eradicate the source, so we'll put him in a public school. And he met Itsuki here. Now, Itsuki's story is also very heart-wrenching, but I'm going to talk about that for another time. I might mention a couple of things, but his story will be for another time. Now, Itsuki knew that Kumi was gay. He was a little twerp, I gotta tell you. He'd be like, oh, it's the homo, but he wouldn't say it meanly. He would say it like, oh, hey homo, how's it going today? The reason for this is because he was a child prostitute, so he slept with both men and women. Now, you might be surprised at that, but I will explain that story later, as I said before. So it didn't faze him that he liked guys. He was just kind of like, oh, you like what you like. And Kumi, he was like, best friends forever. Well, no, at first he was kind of like, you know, angry towards him because he was like the kid of a whore. Because his mom was a hoe, but not like a mean hoe. She had to do it for money. She was actually really nice. Not like a mean hoe. Oops, that is not his hair. Now I'm just drawing what the lines tell me to draw. His hair is messy. Yes, very poor child. He actually started doing it with people because his mother wasn't able to anymore because she started getting sick, but that's his story for another time. But anyways, Kumi was immediately gravitating towards him because he didn't care, you know. He was an actual friend to him, you know. He treated him like a normal human being, like we all should treat people like normal human beings. And they became best friends after that. You know, he was the only friend that he really ever had that accepted him for who he was. Actually, the only male friend, because there's another person that I'm about to explain here that also accepted him for who he was, and that will be Nugseg, which I will draw in a minute over here. I'll just finish off his body kind of here. He looks lanky, doesn't he? They actually made a pact together. It's kind of funny. They made a pact together, you know, to meet when they were older because he had to move schools again. Kumi did, because they were like, alright, you know what, we need to get you smart again. He wasn't dumb or anything, but he's like, you need to be with our own kind. You need to be with people who are elite and everything. And so they took him to another school, and then they kind of like promised each other, like, hey, you know, if we meet again, we better be the people we are. And Itsuki, who's actually very poor, but Itsuki told him, like, you know what, next time you meet me, I'm gonna be richer than rich. I'm gonna be throwing out that dinero. And, you know, I forgot what Kumi had said, but Kumi had said something similar. He was like, you know, when we see each other again. And it was like a really sweet story between the both of them, because Kumi would describe Itsuki as the brother he never had. Like or the brotherly love that he never had. And that's kind of sad when a random person is a brother that you never had. Let's erase all this. Actually, I should draw her as a child as well. So let's switch that over here, and then we're going to bring her up as a child. I just want to keep up with the theme of having children, or having them as their children's selves. Now, Nugseg over here, she is very interesting, and you will probably feel very sad for her unrequited love over here. When she met Kumi at the public school, oh crap, I cut half of her face off. I'll explain it in a minute. I don't want to go trailing off. Alright, here we go. Now, here we have Nugseg, and she fell in love with Kumi. I forgot what the action that he had done that made her fall in love with him, but let's just say she fell in love with him because Kumi was like a really nice person, you know. I think that's the whole reason why she fell in love with him. She was like, he was a nice person, and that's all she needed / wanted. Funny enough, her parents sent her to this public school as a punishment. She was actually, I wouldn't say neglected as a child. She also came from a rich family, but she had an older sister that was far more superior than her, so she always felt inferior. I never drew the sister or her family members, so you're only gonna get Nugseg over here. But yeah, she had an older sister. Let me write that down. Has older sis. But yeah, she had an older sister that was superior than her, and she always felt like timid and afraid. But Kumi, he saw this, and you know, he came up to her and he was being nice, and he was like, oh, you know, welcome to the school, or like, hey, let's be friends, because they were also in the same classroom. And you know, she fell in love. She was like, oh my god, the man of my dreams is here. And then Kumi, once she said that she liked him, Kumi was like, oh, sweetie. Oh, there. Like, oh, sweetie. Oh, you poor child. He straight up told her that she was gay, and she knew this because she had heard the rumors, and she was like, I know, but I still love you. And that's basically how their relationship went. She didn't go any farther than that because she was like, you know what, I can still love him, I just can't be with him. And she still wanted him as a friend because he was her precious friend. So even though she got rejected, she still was in love with him. And her story is kind of sad because even in high school, she was still in love with him. But what's kind of happy and will kind of make you like get all the fuzzy feelings was like she supported Kumi from the start. Like that's how much she loved this guy in more ways than one. You know, as a friend, as a relationship, and all that kind of jazz. And you know, she accepted Kumi for who he was. She was like, you know what, I don't care, I still love you. She was 10 years old, guys. I feel like the reason she had this feeling and she wasn't like other kids like ew homo was because like her parents ignored her and then always paid attention to the older sister, so her feelings toward the word gay was just kind of like, you know what, it's okay, I don't care, I still love you, and kind of thing. And she was there for Kumi every tip of the moment. It's kind of like it's really sad how many times she was there for him. Like every time Kumi had a breakup with a guy, she would be there for him. Every time Kumi was like, you know what, I'm worthless, you know, I shouldn't be this way, because Kumi has yeah, she was 10. Yeah, this is 10. They, in this age range where they all met, they were like 11, 10, or actually maybe she was 11, 10, 12, somewhere around there. Oh, never mind. Oh my god, I completely got their ages wrong. She was 12 years old. She was not 10. She was 12 years old. 12, I think he was 13. Yeah, she was 12 years old. Scratch that. 12 years old. She was 12 years old. She was 12 years old when she found this revelation, like she loved Kumi. There we go. That makes more sense, because when she was 10 was when she was started liking him and finding out about all this stuff. And her friends, you would think she would like a fictional character or a celebrity at that age. Yeah. I mean, the reason that she gravitated towards Kumi was like he was the only person that was nice to her. Like honestly, everybody else was like mean, and I don't think they liked timid people, and most of the girls in the playground thought she was ignoring them, but she wasn't. She was just too nervous to talk to them. Yeah, and that's why she liked Kumi so much. She was like, damn, this boy pays attention to me, this boy cares about me, I'm gonna keep him. But unfortunately, she couldn't. But anyways, as I was saying before, but anyways, she was with him through every breakup or mental breakdown that he had, and she was always there for him, to hug him, to love him, to accept him for who he was. It was like she was his soulmate. And, you know, Nugsek didn't care that her love was unrequited. I mean, she did care, like, it hurt her a lot. But she loved Kumi more than that, to be, just kind of be like, oh, well, he doesn't love me anymore. Bye, never gonna see you again. I can't just be friends with you. Yeah, and then Kumi started realizing, actually, fast track, now that I've introduced these characters, Kumi, he felt towards her, he felt like it was his dear and precious friend. He didn't know, well, he knew that he had feelings for her when they were little, but once they got into high school, he didn't know that she still had feelings, until she confessed again, and he was like, sorry man, I still like dudes, and she was like, that's okay. She's always hopeful. She's always like, well, maybe he'll gravitate towards me, and that's probably also why she's always there for Kumi. A little more of the, what's the word, benefits towards her, but not really, you know, she was there because she loved him. So here's something when they're older. Actually, what's interesting, now we're going to go to the main story, the main juice of the story, where Sue finds out that Kumi was gay. Sue accepted it, obviously, because she was kind of in America, and in America it was like normalized, and then she kind of got that aspect of it, and was affected by that. But anyways, as the story continues on, we're going to continue on the story from Kumi's perspective, so anything that happens in the main story is going to be irrelevant right now. We're just going to continue what his story would have been if I continued it, more of his side story. Now we're going to dive into where Kumi, who he ends up with, and how his story ends. And I gotta tell you, Kumi is not as delicate as he looks. He is like pretty dang strong. Like, he lifts the weights. But anyways, you know, he started realizing later in high school, you know, he started realizing, like, you know, every guy I'm with either wants to be with me because they're trying to start something, you know, like they think they are, but they turn out not to be, or they just think like, oh, you kind of look like a girl, because Kumi, he kind of has feminine looks. And they're like, you know what, I'm gonna try this out for size. Kind of thing. And he's like, you know what, I'm tired of it. And he kind of looks at Nugsig, and he's kind of like, you know, maybe I could try being with you. And he starts confusing himself. more, because he's like, you know, if like every guy I've ever been with, he kind of comes to this realization. He kind of starts thinking about it for a while. This wasn't like a split-second decision. The reason he starts thinking about it, because every single relationship he's been with a guy, obviously you're probably like screaming in the comments like, it gets better in college. But every single guy that he'd been with, you have to understand, was like, it ended so terribly, and they said so many bad things to him. Like, they would be like, you know what, you're not a girl, so, and they'd be like, you know what, you're too rough, or they'd be like, you know what, I thought this was something, but it's really not. And Kumi, every single time, his heart would just break, because Kumi, he's out there, he's looking for love. And, you know, as we all are. And wouldn't it just be sad if somebody just came up to you, and this is going to be a weird explanation, but let's just say from my perspective, like, wouldn't it be sad if somebody just came up to me like, yeah, you're not a guy, so like, yeah, your boobs are weird, so no, or like, yeah, you have too much long hair, or like, your skin is too smooth, like, get out of here, or like, I'm not straight. Or something like that. You know, they would say something mean, probably a bad example. And he was like, why date all these other men if I can have a loving relationship with this one girl right here? And, you know, we kind of started exploring that, you know, maybe Kumi, like, he doesn't really know this, because he doesn't really know all the pansexuals and all that stuff. But he might be bi. But the weird thing about this is, like, he starts talking to Sue about this, because he was like, you know what, I love Nugsig. You know, I don't find her gross. Like, if I could imagine being, oops, I should probably be drawing this right here. But if I could imagine being myself, being with someone, and if it was with Nugsig, then I wouldn't mind being with her, you know? I smacked them real quick. Yeah. And he started thinking, you know, like, if I was with her, I wouldn't mind it. Nugsig was actually the first person to accept him for who he was. Itsuki was the second person to accept him for who he was. But, you know, he was like, I would like to be with this person who accepted me, who loved me. Like, she was with me through thick and thin, and I love her so much. And he was like, the thought of being with her isn't gross. Like, the thought of being with other women is gross, but the thought of being with her isn't that gross. And he told Nugseg, like, alright, let's try this out. Let's date. And then Nugseg was like, what? She was like, she couldn't believe it. She was like, what? After all these years it's happening? But she was very skeptical of this, because she was like, wait, don't you like guys? That is your preference, okay? I always see you looking at that man's booty. Like, don't tell me that's not your preference anymore. And then he was kind of explaining her as he explained it to Sue, like, you know, I can't imagine being with other girls, but if I'm with you, I could be with you. So Nugseg, still kind of skeptical, was like, okay, then let's start to date. And they did start to date for a little bit. And then Kumi was like, alright, see ya, bro. And then Kumi was like, you know what, let's have dinner with my parents, because they were really close friends, so much close that Nugseg would always, you know, visit the family, and the family would always joke. They would always, not really joke, but they would always be very serious, like, when are you gonna marry Nugseg? When are you gonna tie the knot? And it was mostly like his mom that was saying it, like, oh my god, you guys are so in love, you're gonna get married, and blah 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 blah. Like, I could see it. And she was just doing this because she's like, okay, my son's not going to be gay anymore. And then he was like, alright, I'm going to invite you to my house, and I'm going to introduce you as my girlfriend. And then she was like, okay. And then, oh my god, this is where everything just started to turn into shit. So what had happened was they were sitting at the dinner table, and then Kumi was like, alright, Nugsig is my girlfriend now. And then, oh, it was so toxic. They were like, yay, finally, we knew it. Or the mom was like, I knew it, you know, my son isn't gay anymore. And they were like, finally. And then Nugsig, hearing all this, she was like, is he just using me so he can put a front with his family, which she was afraid of. She was like, I'm gonna be with Kumi. I want to be with him because he loves me, because he wants to be with me. If he doesn't want to be with me, I don't want this relationship to happen. You know, I could just, even if it hurts me, I could just go back to being friends with you. And and she was just like thinking throughout this time. And then Kumi, he was like getting really furious, like, why the hell are you saying all of this? And they were just saying things along the line of like, you know what, I knew you guys were going to be together, and they're like, finally my son is normal, kind of thing. Like, finally you're normal, finally you're normal. And then Nugseg, she like she couldn't stand it anymore. She was so furious that the family was treating Kumi this way. I mean, she's always angry, but this time she was just so furious that she got up from the table and she started saying like, Kumi was always normal, okay? I can't remember exactly what I wanted her to say, but it was along those lines. It was like, Kumi was always normal. You guys are just assholes. Yeah, that's what she said. And then she started walking out the door, and when she started walking out the door, Kumi like ran after her, and he has this like inner turmoil because Nugseg started yelling at him, being angry, like, is this what you wanted? Were you just trying to impress your parents? Were you just trying to finally be normal? Am I just like an object for you to use to put up a front with your family? And then Kumi was like, no, I really do love you, like I really do want to start this with you. And then he's like, it's got nothing to do with that. And his heart was just breaking because he couldn't take it anymore. So many people have just broken him, you know, looking for a meaningful relationship, and then the person that he loved the most, you know, like telling him this and all that stuff. And then she started saying like, if I want you to be with me because you want to be with me because you love me, and if we're gonna get married, or talking about the future and all that, but if you're just doing it because of that, then I don't want to be with you. And then she walks away. And then Kumi, he went ballistic. He went ballistic because he was like tired. He was tired. He couldn't take it anymore. He was like, he went back inside the house, and then he just flipped the table. I'm not kidding. He flipped the table, and this was a long ass heavy table. He flipped the table. He started beating his brothers up, and then he was like crying in the middle of it because he was so frustrated. He was like, I am so tired of this. Because like, if you think about it, people kept telling him like, you shouldn't like this other gender, you shouldn't like this other gender, you shouldn't be this way. And then, you know, when he finally and then he flips tables, and he's doing it not because, you know, he wants to be normal or anything, but because he truly loves her, and he just wants someone to love him back, you know. Because like, nobody, like his mom loves him, of course, but nobody in his life really truly loves him, and he had this person that truly loved him. That's why I bring the question of like, maybe he is bi, you know, and he's not fully gay. But anyways, he flips the table, he starts beating up his brothers, and he starts beating up his dad too, and he starts yelling some stuff out like, this is all your fault, this is what you did to me, you know, like, why didn't you love me? And then he just starts like crying and like in pure rage and frustration. And the mother, she just sees all this, and then something snapped inside of her, and she was like, I did this to my son. I made him like this. The reason he's feeling like this, the reason he's acting like this, is because of what you did to him. And so she starts walking towards Kumi in this scene, or in this part of the panel comic drawing, and she starts walking to him like, and then she starts giving him a hug, you know. Well, actually, before her realization, like, you it's too bad I couldn't draw this out, because he was taking them all, like, the brothers were trying to hold him back. 4 people were trying to hold him back, and he was just like, bam, 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 bottle of jam, and and she just started beating them up, like, no hesitation. All the frustration over the years. And then now back to the mom's realization. She went over and she started hugging Kumi, and she was like, I'm so sorry. And then that's when everything started coming down, and she just kept saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And, you know, Kumi just started calming down and started crying in her arms. And yeah. Ooh. I had to take a little break there. So then, after all this happened, you know, he patched up the relationship with Nugseg, and then they started dating and all that, and then future Kumi, they're still together, they have 1 kid, but you best believe, you know, Kumi still looks at those asses of mans. And it's kind of funny because Nugseg is kind of like, you know, if you want a man, you can go have a man. And he's like, no, I'm devoted to you, babe. But, you know, I can look at others if I want to. I kind of added that there because my parents, my mother actually said something similar to that. And she was like, you know what, if your dad wants to look at other women, let him look at other women. You know, he's just looking. My son Kumi's here. So. Yeah, he is. He may be a small boy, but he's a strong boy. And so, yeah, they have 1 kid together. Just 1. Or I don't know if I want them to have more. This story was still very fresh between them. See, this was the confusing part, because as I started making the story, I was like, oh, but I still want him to be... I wanted him to be with a man, but now the story has gotten too complicated to where it can't be that way anymore. Actually, it was first gonna be that way, but then I invented Nugseg, and then I invented Itsuki, and it just kind of started spiraling down like, oh, I want to make this complicated. But he was actually gonna be with a delinquent at first. But that didn't end up working out because I was just kind of like, oh, that would be too complicated. Because the delinquent would be a leader of someone or something, and then, yeah. So that would have been like a little side story for you guys. What could have been, but wasn't. I think the reason why I made Kumi end up with Nugseg was just because of the relationships that he had that made him gravitate towards Nugseg, because every single one of them, he loved them wholeheartedly. He gave all of them his heart, only for them to smash it and smother it to the ground. Yeah. By the way, the whole family situation, they started accepting him for who he was, kind of. Once he started going out with Nugseg, they were just kind of like more, yeah, sorry we did this to you. And thus the end of the tale of Jeff. Yeah, I think that's it for his story. I don't know if there's anything else to explain. I mean, other than if you want to know about his future, he just ends up working at his father's company because he wants to. He has a kid with Nugseg. His brothers, they're pretty chill with him now. Kind of a little bit awkward because they're kind of like, sorry we used to be mean to you. Or sorry we were a bunch of butts. Yeah. That's it. Bye. Sorry, I'm thinking about the ending of what I should do because I did this as a recording as well. That's at the end. Okay. Here, restart again. Okay. Well, that's the end for Kumi's story. I will be doing other stories of the other characters as well, but that's his end for the story. Let me know if, like, I missed any questions or any unanswered questions that I missed along the tale of Kumi, or if you have any questions, you know, just ask me in the comments and then I'll answer them wholeheartedly, the truth. And I don't know who I'm gonna do next, but you know, we'll see whose story I reveal next, or if you guys want to know someone specifically, you could also write down that in the comments. Alright, that's it for Kumi's story, so bye. Oh my god, I should totally say that. Thanks for watching! Sub and hit that like button! Oh, that's what all the YouTubers say, don't they? Don't forget to ring that bell as well, see? Oh, okay. Alright, bye for real now.